Hello there, very good evening to you. It's still an extremely wet and unseasonably cool picture out there as we look ahead to tonight. The weather warnings today have actually travelled northwards across the UK, and now of course we've got this amber weather warning just tucking there into Edinburgh. So a very wet end tonight for you, and I think probably you should predict a fairly unpleasant rush hour tomorrow morning. So a lot of rain to end the night, and of course a lot of rain to start Thursday. I'm afraid really quite an unpleasant story, bearing in mind we're in the middle of June. It does start to separate into two main lumps of rain though by the time we get to the second half of the day, and this is the start of that rain band finally starting to fragment and pull away from us after it's given us all such trouble this week. But nonetheless, even if you haven't got the big lump of rain over you, it's still going to be a very showery and at times very unsettled sort of picture. Some of those showers rather thundery at times. As we get ahead to Friday, we're slightly out of the woods, sunshine and showers, but still pretty cool. Good night, sleep well, see you soon.
Bike servicing at Halford sponsors ITV National Weather.
Tonight it's the Boris question. The former Mayor of London is streets ahead in the race to be the new Tory leader, and our Prime Minister. Time to cheer or weep. I'll ask two of his rivals, Andrea Leadsom and Mark Harper, how they hope to beat him, and the former Minister, Priti Patel, why she's Boris bonkers, all at 10:45.
Good evening. Bob Higgins is tonight starting a 24-year jail sentence after being found guilty of abusing teenage boys over 3 decades. The former Southampton youth coach was described today by the judge as predatory, cunning and manipulative, a man who abused his position of power. Our reporter Sally Simmons has been following the case.
Well, there were plenty of tears and hugs from survivors and their families after today's sentencing, but absolutely no reaction from Bob Higgins. He listened as the judge recounted every crime he'd committed against boys in intimate detail without flinching, and as he was led away to start his 24-year sentence, his expression never changed. "You showed no remorse," the judge said, adding, "This was a systematic abuse of young footballers, most of whom were carefully groomed, and that the vicious nature of the language on the terraces in the 70s and 80s would have made it difficult for anyone to speak out." Well, one former footballer who's waived his anonymity to speak to us, Dion Raitt, explained why it's taken so long to tell the truth about Bob Higgins.
You've locked it away for so long, and the whole stigma around men and sexual abuse, that's the main thing, you know, and you don't want to reopen them wounds. You know, you've boxed it away and dealt with it some ways, maybe not correctly, but yeah.
Well, Higgins was described as a monster, as a man who created a nightmare lived to this day in court. His abuse spanned 3 decades, as Richard Slee now explains.
Hang the ball here.
He was a sexual predator hiding in plain sight, but for years there were rumours and clear signs that he was using his status as a successful football coach to abuse teenage boys. Many of his victims described Higgins as godlike, their mentor and father figure. But to speak out would have meant the end of their burgeoning football career. Much of the abuse took place in Higgins' home when the boys stayed overnight, and in his car, mainly while driving to and from training sessions at Southampton. The alarm was first raised in 1989 when Southampton's apprentice manager Dave Merrington heard youth players making comments of a sexual nature about Higgins. Soon after Higgins was confronted, he left the club and set up his own footballing academy. Clubs were sent a letter warning them not to get involved with Higgins, and in 1992 he was charged with 6 counts of sexual assault against young players. But after Higgins was found not guilty of assaulting young footballer Dean Radford, the other charges were dropped. It was a missed opportunity to prevent further attacks against young boys. However, Dean Radford did go on to give evidence as a witness at the later trial, which was triggered following new allegations of abuse in football in November 2016. This time, many more men came forward naming Higgins. An NSPCC helpline subsequently set up led to 87 referrals to Hampshire Police, with another 32 people contacting the force directly. During extensive police interviews, Higgins said nothing. But the response to his conviction and the lengthy sentence handed down today is being heard loud and clear by those he abused over a period of 25 years. Richard Slee, ITV News.
Well, the support that the survivors gave each other was shown by the large group that came outside court after the sentencing. And for Dean Radford, who tried to expose Higgins back in 1992, this moment was a long time coming.
How vindicated do you feel after so many years?
I'm just really happy. I'm just happy, and I'm so grateful because that took something to do, everyone coming forward. And, you know, today's about people that got justice, and that is what this is about today, really. So I'm just really happy for everybody.
Southampton Football Club have issued an apology to all the victims. Hampshire Police say they've had further calls regarding Higgins and will handle all complaints very sensitively.
We have had a number of people come forward, and I would hope that this sentence helps to reinforce the value that we do take these type of offences seriously, that we will listen to people should they come forward, and we will assist them in any future process if they feel the time is right for them now to make these type of disclosures.
But the man who's been sorely missed by everyone here today is Billy Seymour, who died in a car crash before he could see his abuser jailed. His mother spoke powerfully about how Higgins ruined her son's life, how she still feels consumed by guilt. On behalf of everyone here today, Dean Radford paid tribute to Billy Seymour.
Sally Simmons reporting there. And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in that report, there's more help and advice on our website. Just head to itv.com/Meridian. In other news tonight, a man who shot his own dog in the head 4 times has been banned from keeping animals for 10 years. Simon Hancock from Hedge End near Southampton was found guilty of trying to kill his 1-year-old terrier with an air rifle. Richard Jones has the report.
This was Jet being treated after he was shot by Simon Hancock last year. He then dumped him in undergrowth, where he lay for 4 days before being rescued by a member of the public. He could easily have died.
I'd say it's less than 50-50 for his survival. He was in a collapsed, dehydrated state, very, 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 very thin. Yeah, it's very touch and go. He had 4 air rifle pellets in around his skull.
Jet was operated on for more than 4 hours, but survived. And this is him today, at a new home with a new family. He can run and chase and play, but he still suffers from the after effects of being shot.
He has a wobble after a sleep, which is a neurological related issue. He has still got an air rifle pellet in his jaw area. It was in a very, very sensitive area, lots of nerves, so it was felt best to leave it there. So that could migrate or move, so there's a chance of that happening. But I think he'll have a good life.
Simon Hancock, here in the blue hoodie, denied animal cruelty, but was convicted by magistrates in Southampton. As well as banning him from keeping an animal, he was given a 1-year community order. The RSPCA say Jets is a horrific experience with a happy outcome. Most cases of animal cruelty as serious as this end in death. Richard Jones, ITV News, Southampton.
Up to 20,000 people living in Portsmouth have been left without an NHS dentist after a chain announced it was shutting down 3 surgeries in the city. Coliseum Dental is closing its practices in Portsmouth, making a number of staff redundant. The nearest facilities are now a ferry ride away in Gosport or a half-hour drive in Havant.
The profession would like a situation where we could offer more services for our patients, but we need a radical change in the contract that is offered to NHS dentists so that they wish to stay in areas and they can be viable in areas like that in Portsmouth.
Brighton and Hove Albion are facing legal action after 3 of their ground staff were dismissed. They were sacked after allegedly leaking information about team selection. But GMB, the union representing them, say there is no evidence that the former staff members did this. The club says it can't comment on the matter as it is confidential. Now, what does the weather have in store over the next few days? All the details tonight. Here's Holly Green.
Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening. We have got some heavy downpours still continuing for parts of the region into the coming days. The reason is the jet stream, which is looping its way to the south. When you get this sort of set up high in the atmosphere, it does tend to translate through to the lower part of the atmosphere. It gives areas of low pressure, and that's what we've got at the moment. And of course, low pressure when it's overhead tends to generate showers, longer spells of rain, and it also makes the detail quite tricky to forecast. So through the rest of tonight, some outbreaks of more persistent rain out to the north and the west. Further east, more of a showery look, but those showers potentially heavy and thundery. Temperatures stay up in double figures. That southwesterly breeze, though, is strengthening. So I think for tomorrow, a soggy start to the day for some. You might see a bit of early brightness in the east, but I think it will be fairly short-lived. And this more persistent rain tries to spill its way in. Some hefty downpours are a possibility. Some thunder and lightning still potentially on the cards. Gusts up to around 25 or 30 miles an hour, especially in exposure. And those temperatures pretty disappointing as well. Into the coming days, still the potential for some showers, but I think in general fewer of them, a bit more in the way of some sunshine, and those temperatures rising a bit as well. Take care.
Great Western Railway sponsors the ITV Meridian weather.
So another grotty day tomorrow, but at least things are improving. That's all from us. We're back tomorrow at 6. But from me and all of us here on the Late Team, thanks very much for your company. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, good night.
Take one iconic stadium, a bunch of celebrities.
Let's do this.
And football professionals, all supporting one fantastic cause.
Come on!
Add in a performance from a world-famous pop star, and it's game on.
McElrowan! Never in question. First celebrity goal of the night. Score! And England win!
Look what it means to them.
Soccer Aid for UNICEF, defending play for every child. Sunday at 6:30 on ITV.
Everybody knows they're going to die. Not many of us know when. Do you believe in the death penalty?
Strangely, I do.
Are you going to watch your father go?
Yes, I am.
Are you frightened?
Yes.
Has the execution gone ahead?
Death Row, Countdown to Execution, starts tomorrow at 9 on ITV.
There's another chance to see the third and final part of 63 Up tonight at 11:40. But first, expect some lively debate now on ITV as we join Robert and guests live for Peston.
Hello and welcome to the only important Tory leadership hustings.